It's 2:13 a.m. You're standing in the dark. Baby's crying. You've done everything. You fed it, you changed it, you rocked it, you Googled things you wish you hadn't. And in the silence between the crying, you have a thought you won't say out loud. Is this supposed to feel this hard? Not the baby, you. Is it normal that I don't feel confident? Is it normal that I thought I'd be better at this? Is it normal that I am terrified I'm already doing it wrong? Nobody talks about that fear, but every parent on this planet knows exactly what I'm describing. Now, fast forward 5 years. Go clean your room. No response. Go clean your room. Nothing. The third time, you raise your voice, and then they move. Now, here's what nobody will say to your face, and that I have tested repeatedly. Your child has already counted exactly how many times you'll repeat yourself before you actually mean it. They're not confused. They're not defiant. They're not a bad kid. They've learned your pattern, and that's not their fault. It's kind of your fault. Fast forward again. You hand over the phone, 10 minutes become 30. 30 minutes becomes a fight, and you're standing there frustrated that you gave it, guilty that you're taking it back, locked in a negotiation with someone who needs help wiping their butt. And underneath all of it, a question that makes you wonder, why does it feel like they're leading me instead of the other way around? 3 different ages, 3 different battles, one thing in common. You're reacting. Not because you're a bad parent, not because you don't love them enough, not because you didn't read the right books or watch the right videos, but because nobody gave you a framework. Nobody showed you how to lead a child. They just said to love one. And love is not a strategy. Here's what I know. The parents who actually changed the trajectory of their family, the ones who stopped the cycle, who raise confident, resilient kids who feel like they are genuinely leading their home, they didn't love their kids more than you do. They learned something you haven't learned yet. And that's exactly what this video is about. It's not about perfection or guilt. It's not another list of things that you're doing wrong. It's a framework. One that works at 2 a.m., one that works when they don't clean their room, and one that works when the phone becomes a battlefield. One that finally makes you feel like the parent your child actually needs you to be. You've been reacting long enough. It's time to lead. My name is Scott Wilkinson. I became a father at 19. You really can't get lower on the scale of not knowing what you're doing than 19. And to make it even harder, I got married and opened up my first martial arts school at that same year. Before Google was a place where you could search for parenting advice. From those terrified early days until now, I've raised my own kids while working with thousands of other families for over 34 years. I've trained kids from 3 years old all the way through their high school graduation, so they've stayed with me for a long time. I've worked with tens of thousands of parents, every background, every income level, kids who were considered normal, kids with autism, kids who had been abused, every personality type that exists at one point or another stepped on my mat. And the question that drove everything I did was, how do I get a student to want to do right, to work hard, to be excellent without being told? Because that's what I wanted for my own kids. Not compliance, I want character. Not obedience, I want a strong identity. Over time, I figured out what was actually happening underneath the surface. And that's why I started this channel, to share it with you. Now, before we go any further, you need the right lens, because without it, this framework doesn't work. First, this is a mission. You are not just raising a child, you are shaping an adult. Someone who will either add strength to the world or confusion. So stop thinking short term, think legacy. Second, correct does not mean what the latest expert says. 10 parenting books will contradict each other. 10 videos will tell you 10 different things. I'm giving you permission to do what works in your house, so own it. Third, everything you feel is normal. The doubt, the frustration, the fear that you're already getting it wrong, all that's normal. Every parent feels it. They just don't say it out loud. And fourth, your role must evolve. What works at 2 won't work at 10, and what works at 10 won't work at 15. You adapt as they grow, and understand this, they are adapting too. They are studying your tone, your consistency, your follow through. If you're going to change, you got to do it intentionally. And fifth, you are not their friend. You are their parent, their leader, their guide, their mentor. Friends don't set standards. Friends don't enforce boundaries. Friends don't prepare someone for life. Parents do. And you don't have to agree with everything I say. What I want you to do is test it. This framework was built in real life under pressure across thousands of families and personalities. It works, but it only works if you lead. Now, before I show you the framework, I'll give you a couple examples. Let me show you where it was born. In my martial arts school, I would spend weeks teaching a student a technique. I explain it, I demonstrate it. We drilled it slow, we drilled it fast, we hit things, we did it under resistance. They understood it. They could perform it. They had the skill. Then we'd spar, and it disappeared. All that work, gone, when it actually mattered. Under pressure, they would abandon the new technique and go back to the old one, the one that didn't work. The very reason we trained something new in the first place. So instead of watching the technique, I started watching their little faces. There was a moment right after they got hit where fear showed up, and without even thinking, they'd revert back to what felt familiar. And apparently, familiar beats effective whenever there's a challenge or they're under pressure. So I would stop the fight and ask a question. Who do you want to be? The one who hits or the one who gets hit? And every time they chose the one who hits. And when they chose who they wanted to be, they fought differently, because that question wasn't about a technique. It was about identity. Once identity shifted, effort followed. That's when I realized the break isn't where I thought it was. It's upstream somewhere. And that changed everything for me and for every person that I have ever trained since then. Let me show you how this plays out with parents. One day a kid acts up in the car. They're on the way to the school. The mom pulls into the parking lot and she is furious. I hear it through the door. Do you understand? Do you understand? You need to be more disciplined. And he walks in and I go, you got in trouble, huh? What happened? He tells me his side of the story. So I ask him, when she said, do you understand? Did you really understand? And he smiles and goes, nope. I said, when she said you needed to be more disciplined, do you know what that means? And he goes, nope. I said, then why did you say yes, ma'am, after every time? And he said, because it's the fastest way to get her to leave me alone. Mom believes she handled it. She corrected the behavior she enforced. She expected change. But here's the issue. She thinks this is the chain running in her son. He knows better. He understands the standard. He's capable of doing it. He's already been taught what discipline is. So if I correct him, his behavior will magically change. That's what she believes is happening. But here's what's actually happening in his head. If I say yes, this ends faster. I don't really understand what she means. She's just yelling. I just want this to stop. I haven't been shown what discipline actually looks like. So I'll agree for now and repeat it later, and hopefully I won't get caught next time. Same situation, completely different thought processes. Mom addressed the behavior, but learning never happened. Training never happened. Understanding never happened. So nothing changed. It just paused until a later date. And that's why it shows up again next week. How many times have you corrected behavior when the break was actually higher up in the chain and you never even thought about it? That is what I'm going to help you with. This is what I call the framework. It's not a tip. It's not a script. It's not a parenting hack. It's a diagnostic tool. When something isn't working with your child, this tells you exactly where the break is. And here's what I need you to understand before I show it to you. There are always two frameworks running in your home, your framework and the child's, because it's the same for everybody. If you want to lead well, you have to understand both. Now here's the chain: beliefs, identity, standards, discipline, behavior, and outcomes. Beliefs create identity, and identity sets standards. Standards drive discipline. Discipline shapes behavior. Behavior produces outcomes. If you don't like the outcome, one of the earlier links is misaligned or broken. That's the system. Let me walk you through it a little more detail. We'll go deep on each one over the next several weeks, starting with beliefs. That'll come out on Tuesday. Number one is beliefs. Beliefs are statements your child holds to be true about themselves and the world. Kids form them constantly and often from a single experience. Miss one shot, I'm bad at basketball. Get corrected one too many times, I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. And once a belief becomes true in their mind, their tiny little brains start looking for evidence to confirm it. They will literally sabotage themselves and call it proof. You've probably done that too. This is where mental health actually begins, not in therapy, not in coping, in statements that a child makes about themselves when no one else is in the room. If you're not intentionally shaping their beliefs, belief is being shaped accidentally somewhere. And kids are not qualified to build that system on their own. That's not control, that's responsibility. That's the mission. Number two is identity. Identity is what those beliefs harden into. Belief says, I messed that up. Identity says, I'm bad at this. Belief describes a moment and identity describes a person. And whatever follows the words I am becomes the filter your child processes all of life through. That internal voice, the one they carried in that they carry in adulthood, either stabilizes them under pressure or destroys them. You cannot be their buddy when identity is forming. Identity is structure. It either protects them or it weakens them. Number three is standards. Standards are how your family actually operate. Not what you say, not what you intend, but what you allow, what you normalize, what you require. If a child believes they're capable, their standards rise naturally. If they believe they're not enough, standards fall. And here's the thing about standards. They are set by the parent, held by the parent, and enforced by the parent. Not occasionally, but consistently. That's what leadership looks like in a home. Number four is discipline. Discipline means to learn, not to punish. It means to learn. You can't expect outstanding performance if you haven't trained them. I had parents walk into my school every single week saying, I want my kid to have more discipline. And they would leave saying, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Here's what they didn't know. I never taught discipline directly, not once. Never did I lecture the class about discipline. I never told them to be more disciplined. What I did was fix what was upstream. I changed what they believe. I gave them an identity to grow into. I held standards. And then the discipline just magically showed up on its own without me ever addressing it directly. Discipline is not the foundation. It's what happens when the foundation is right. Number five is behavior. Behavior is the visible output of everything upstream. It's link number 5 in the chain out of 6. And yet it's the first thing that almost every parent goes after. That's the equivalent of fixing a symptom without addressing the disease. You might change it temporarily in that specific context and that one moment, but the same behavior will show back up the following week because nothing upstream is resolved. Behavior is not the root issue. It's proof that beliefs, identity, standards, and discipline are all in alignment. Number 6 is outcomes. Outcomes don't lie. They are the downstream product of everything that happened before them. They don't care about your intentions or your circumstances. They're just data. And if your outcomes aren't what you want, something in the chain is broken. It's not your kid. Kids do what they're trained to do. It's somewhere in that string. And once you know where to look, you can fix it every time. Let me make this simple. Parents, you control the beliefs that get installed, the identity that gets reinforced, the standards that define the home, the training environment that shapes behavior. Kids don't control any of that. They operate inside the framework that you build. They live inside the beliefs that you normalize. They become the identity that you consistently enforce or reinforce. So when something isn't working, don't just ask, what's wrong with my kid? Ask, what did I build? That's not guilt, that's power, your personal power, because you built it, you can adjust it. Now here's what's next. Over the next several weeks, we are going to take this chain one link at a time and break it down completely. Next week, I'll have two videos coming out on beliefs. One's on Tuesday and the parent one's on Friday. Because if belief is unstable, identity drifts. If identity drifts, standards weaken, and once standards weaken, everything downstream becomes a fight. We're going to talk about where beliefs actually come from, how kids form them, how parents accidentally install the wrong ones, and how to correct them without crushing your child's spirit in the process. Then we'll talk about identity, then standards, then discipline, then behavior, and then outcomes. By the time this series is done, you won't be guessing where the break is. You'll know every single time. That's the difference between managing your kids and leading them. Now, if this resonated, if you've ever thought there has to be a better way than repeating myself over and over again, subscribe, because this isn't about quick fixes. This is about building something that lasts. And if you're going to take that mission seriously, I'll see you next week.